Hi guys, to everyone, it's Ada from Poison Rock, and after 4 years long, I have the pleasure to have with me Karl Sanders, the legend, the icon, the mastermind, the only the one from NILE, which is the one of my favorite band. All the world knows that. First of all, how are you, Karl?
I'm doing great. How are you, Ada?
I'm really good. I'm happy finally to do this interview. I mean, in the first interview, of course, we talk about the band and everything. And also, it was during the pandemic, if you remember, like, so we were home all the time. We
hmm
couldn't go outside. But now, after a long time, we are back to normality. So I want to ask you, I was of coming back from you as a musician or you itself, like all the band coming back live, performing and recording.
Uh, the very first tour that we did after the pandemic, after we'd all been cooped up for so long, and I remember thinking while I was on stage, wow, now I remember why I love playing metal in the community spirit, the feeling that we all get when we're all gathered together at a show and everybody's there for metal. And you get to see your metal friends and the people who also love metal. It's like a brotherhood and sisterhood of people who all appreciate the same great thing that is metal. And that bonds us all together. And
Yeah.
that's what I thought about. And it was like, yes, this is why so many people love metal, and it gives like that chill that goes up your spine when you're at a great metal show and you feel the fucking energy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I'm alive. That's why I
That's,
love metal.
yeah, that's beautiful. And of course, in the first interview, I didn't have the chance to ask you because I was at the beginning. I was starting to do interview like the first time after all my life being behind the stage. But I want to ask you now, since you got the opportunity, as a you of course you are an influential artist, you are an influential musician, but before all of this, you were just a teenager growing up. So I would it's for me. I think it's interesting for me as a fan of Nile and you, and I think it's interesting for fan to know more about like you growing up as a just a regular guy getting into music. So your personal musical background and journey path, what as we want to call it.
Well, I always play guitar. From the
Okay.
time I was like a small child, like 4 or 5, and I had a guitar and I made lots of noise on it. My dad was a horn player, and he played beautiful trumpet in the style of Herb Alpert, the Tijuana Brass, very famous 60s kind of Latino
That's
uh, music. And it's beautiful music on the trumpet, right? But I was a kid who couldn't play the guitar yet, so I just banged on it because I was with my dad. Well, he was trying to play, read the music off the paper, and he was sounded great, but I was terrible. But my dad still kept playing anyway. Uh, when I was about 9, I started taking lessons, and then, of course, things got a little better. So by the time I was a teenager, I'd already been playing guitar for a long time. Um,
nice.
and I remember, the first things I listened to that, were we didn't even really have metal yet. We had Led Zeppelin, we
Yeah.
had Black Sabbath,
The beginning.
there was Cream. I remember as a guitar player, um, going back and discovering all that, and Jimi Hendrix and
Yeah.
Robin Trower. It wasn't till like later in high school when Iron Maiden came along, and I discovered Judas Priest, and okay,
That's more noisy.
that's metal, right? The spirit of those early Priest and Maiden
Yeah.
records is untouchable.
Yeah.
Um, and that really kind of set things on fire. Yeah, I knew what I wanted to do. I was bad, that time old enough to start going to concerts,
Yeah,
and so I kind of knew
yeah,
what I wanted to do, right? I had
yeah.
some very childish dreams about, oh yeah, I want to do that with my life. Like,
But it's like you already knew in your veins that you wanted to be a musician, and
mm,
but the musician, not a musician, the musician, and you did it. So of course, like okay, because like already NILE say it's been set up in the music history as a milestone, and of course, like when you we were mentioning when you're a teenager, you knew that, but you could imagine that you could be today hero for literally a lot of guys, girls. Like, could you imagine back then when you were younger, like you would be today, someone else influences in their music, someone else, a lot of people influences,
mm.
uh, from music till tattoos. So,
No, I couldn't envision that. Uh, by the time I was, a teenager, I couldn't envision life beyond age 25 at all. Like
that's
that's as far as I could foresee, right?
yeah,
Um, by the time I was 30, I'd already given up on like, oh, wait
yeah,
a minute. In the real world, you don't just instantly go from kid who loves to play guitar to making an actual career out of it. That takes a lot of hard work in the right circumstances. It doesn't just happen,
no,
right? So I'd kind of given up and realized, well, not given up, but just realized that, hey, you know what? This doesn't happen for everybody.
exactly.
And I was okay with it. I kept going and kept playing because it was what I loved to do. By the time I started with Nile, I was doing it surely 100% just because this is what I fucking love doing. I love going to band practice. I love playing shows. I liked writing songs. I just liked doing it. It was, you know, what I love doing.
Yes,
You
it was
know,
your path. I mean,
yeah,
you knew it since you were banging the guitar while your father was playing trumpet. So you already knew that. It was written in your, I think, in your DNA. Of course, I mean, there has been this new release, which it's a quite the first single, chapter for, I have to read it because it's long, chapter for not being hung upside down on a stake in the underworld, made it to eat faces and well, I forgot. I got lost. I got lost. And now that came from a book of a dead. And of course, this is the single that was, let's say, announcing the comeback with the new album, The Underworld Awaits Us All, that already has been released the 23rd of August, which is not long that ago. But of course, I want to say, for me already, it's always epic sound-wise, your music. I don't want to say what is different, but or what is not. But I have, as an interviewer, I have to ask it. Sound-wise, how we consider this masterpiece different from the other masterpiece? I'm not saying album, I'm saying masterpiece. I'm sorry. This is,
right.
I'm fan of the band. I am allowed to say that for once.
You will not get a ticket. The police eye will not pull you over and give you a fine. It'll be okay.
It's just true. Like, so the last, in which way sound wise we could see that Underworld Awaits Us All is different from all the other releases.
I would say that Underworld is kind of stripped down and lean. It's very metal, and that's where its focus is. Like there are some albums that have, you know, slightly different vibe. Like In Their Darkened Shrines, it's
Yeah,
very epic. There's a lot of soundscapes, a lot of
yeah,
cinema, a lot of orchestrations and other instruments. Underworld is about the metal.
okay.
Yeah.
So that's why, of course, I wrote down also this question because I want to ask you because, of course, your song always in the album have this kind of structure. I know always in all your album, and also in the last album, there is a precise way that you structure the sound, or sorry, the song, and also the album, or comes spontaneously, the structure of it.
I was talking with a student about this earlier. The inspiration for the songs and the early part of the songs
Okay.
is very unstructured,
Okay.
and I just kind of follow the muse wherever it it leads.
Yeah.
So it's kind of unstructured. But as soon as the songs start taking a little bit of shape, then things become very structured.
Okay.
Like the album as a whole is very structured. Like, yeah, I know this song, that sounds like the first song. And this other thing, that
Okay.
sounds like the last song.
Yeah.
And that's the title track. I mean, you just kind of know,
Yeah, indeed.
right? You kind of know, well, what is this song? What is that song? Where does this one go? It's kind of like when you have a puzzle
Yeah.
and you see all the pieces
Yeah.
and you just go, well, this one goes here. And this one goes there. And this one goes there. And the structure becomes obvious
Yeah.
because you can see how the pieces fit together. But the individual pieces
Are not. They are.
are not so structured.
They come. Let's say there is a structured, but with spontaneity,
Hmm.
and then in between, structure within spontaneity. Let's say. But of course, that's why I think your music is like people start to listen on that, like to the album, and they have, like you said, maybe this structure like for one, two, three, so five. And of course, I want to just, in your opinion, if I have the album and I start to listen, it could apply to the last album, but also to the other one. In as a, of course, songwriter and musician behind the album, you would suggest that I listen from the first to the last, or I can start from, I don't know, the sixth track, let's say.
I think it works either way. Uh,
Okay.
there are
Also,
times when I want to hear the whole thing
okay.
because there's kind of a journey to it, but
Okay.
you can pop in or drop the needle
Mhm.
anywhere you feel like, and I feel like the songs can be listened to one by one. Like in my car, uh, my phone won't shuffle uh, the files off the folder, right?
Okay.
So I got the whole album on there, but it doesn't autoplay or shuffle the
Yeah.
songs. So I have to pick one and
Yeah.
listen to it. Whereas like if Spotify, it'll shuffle the songs in playlist
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
okay, that's like it. But the files just right off my drive on my phone,
Yeah.
I have to pick a song and play it. And that works fine. Like maybe today I want to listen to Stella.
Yeah.
Tomorrow I'll listen to Chapter. After that, maybe Nakata.
So like I said, that even from different album, I can listen the from song that song from the other album and mix it up with the last one, making my own NILE compilation.
That's what I do,
Oh,
right? I only listen to the ones I feel like listening to. And some days I
yeah,
don't feel like listening to all of them. Some days I might be in this mood, or other days I might be in that mood.
yeah, of course.
You know,
Yeah, but that's important because sometimes they're kind of concept albums. Sometimes there are kind of you need to listen maybe to the beginning to the end to understand the whole concept behind it, the whole message behind the
hmm.
album. But yeah,
No, you said that really well.
yeah. I like it to listen to the first one to the last one, but sometimes let's say I want to hear Sacrifice and Unto Sebek, I'm gonna listen that in my head, current, straightforward. That's one of my favorite song ever. That's what bring me to do my first tattoo in my spine, my back. That's the first one. And I will say all the time, people ask me, why do you have all this in your spine, this tattoo? I said, oh, ask NILE. And then
Let's blame Nile. It's their
yeah,
fault.
yeah, also of course like we mentioned 4 years ago, and I'm also an historian, and I always love the fact that you face themes like such as Egyptology. I want to just like, of course, how you kind of take inspiration for putting any history fact or history theme, such as for example Egypt history in your music, because it's not from any band, just let's say put a song about history. Many of them just go, I don't know, with fantasy theme, like Lord of the Rings, something like this. But I like the
Mhm.
fact that you take history. That is a
I like history.
me too. So, of course, I want to ask you, like, how, I mean, where from, for example, from Egyptology, where it came to your main inspiration from? Like, there's a book, there's a, I don't, your own something that personally, some source, even movie, some documentaries.
Yeah, all of it. Song ideas are always
Okay.
everywhere. They're in a movie, they're in a book, they're on the History Channel. They're like everywhere. Sometimes the song idea is what happened to you that day on the way to the gas station.
I love gas station too.
Yep. It could be anywhere. Songs are everywhere if you just
Yeah,
are willing to accept them. You see them, and they're right there in front of you. Just say, okay,
of course.
there's a song.
Yeah, of course. And of course, like, it's so when, for example, you wrote down the last album, how you wrote, like, let's say, lyric wise, these, let's say, fact or things they got from books into lyric wise, because of course something is to read about them or to know about them, something else is to transmute into music, into lyrics, and then into sound.
Well, uh, when I read something in a book or whatever, and it's really nicely written,
Okay.
right? Uh, it can't go exactly that way into the song because the song has needs for itself. Like, so even though it might exist in a perfect form in a book,
Yeah.
it's not always going to translate directly into whatever riff that you got on the guitar.
Okay.
You have to make it work together.
Yeah.
And so all I try to do is really just keep the spirit of whatever it was and just make it work
Sure.
with the metal. And sometimes that's easy, and sometimes you have to get out the hammer and the saw and make it work. And sometimes it works just perfect, just like it is.
Yeah, and of course, like, and since we are in the history field, I want to ask if there is some in the and I'm citing ancient world, but could be even medieval times, any type of history, it's okay. That maybe you like that, I think, like that episode, that fact, and if there is, maybe that fascinating you. If it is, and if it's yes, why? I mean, which, what is this? For example, this event that happened that you maybe you find like, oh, I like that thing that happened. Was cool.
Well, yeah. Sometimes you look at history and you go, well, what if Alexander didn't go to India, right? Or maybe if he hadn't treated this woman so bad, maybe it would have been better. Maybe he should have said, "No, mom, shut the fuck up."
Yeah,
Maybe, who
yeah,
knows?
yeah.
And why didn't he? And sometimes historical events are results of just the dumb things that people do,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
yeah, of course. And regarding also about this, if you would like see some fact that happened, some event that happened, there is maybe some event that you would put in yourself, like in the other person, historical figure in your shoes, and say, I would do in a different way. I don't
Yeah,
know.
all the time, right? Uh,
Uh,
I think a lot of NILE writing
yeah,
is, in fact, well, okay, if I were in that situation, how would I feel about it? Like Black Seeds of Vengeance, it's a nice example. Like, if the Amalekites were following me all around the desert and doing all sorts of terrible things to, my tribe of, Egyptians and then later the Israelites,
Yeah.
you know, how would I feel about it? I probably wouldn't like it. I would probably think those folks are not good people and fuck them.
Yeah, exactly. Because of course, like because this, like you're mentioning, this is kind of setting up the lyric-wise meaning of the underworld. But what is the meaning lyric-wise, the message that underworld won't send outside?
Hmm. Um, the underworld, as a whole, like
Yeah.
the way I relate to it is like wherever it is
Yeah.
that we all go as people listening to metal fans, Nile fans, wherever it is that we end up when it's all over, we'll probably all be in the same place together. The underworld awaits us all.
Yeah. I can drink
Everybody's
beer
gonna
with them.
die. Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, and
So
I
it's
can have yeah,
personal. You know, it's
yeah,
personal, right? The underworld awaits us all.
yeah. Of course, all of your album always shows this big because, like I said, you love history, and it's but it shows like a deep knowledge of history from yourself. I don't know if you did studies in your past, you were young, but if we, because sometimes people forget how fascinating is history and that history is a wheel. So
It is a wheel.
yeah, it is indeed. So as a as a I can say like lover of history yourself, just to grab young people closer to history, which maybe I don't know some book or something that you would like to suggest them, or some movie or some anything suggest them, because I think it's important for youngest generation getting closer to history, because everyone ate history in school except maybe me and you and someone else.
You know, I think like it's a gateway, I think, right? You know, like the first metal albums that we listen to are you know, usually Metallica,
Yeah,
Slayer. You know, and once you absorb that and it becomes
yeah,
part of you, you start understanding other, you know, subgenres of metal.
yeah,
But everybody starts in the same kind of fucking place. So I think, you know, a good place for people to start is movies or books. You know, just pick something that you personally enjoy.
yeah,
Uh, for me, it was ancient history.
yeah,
You know, there's other people that like other periods of history, other cultures. It
yeah,
really doesn't matter.
yeah.
Pick whatever it is that personally fascinates you. Watch a movie, read a book, click
Mhm.
on a link on the internet. There's a million YouTube videos nowadays of all kind of history things.
Exactly.
And you know, there's so much amazing things that have
Yeah,
happened in the history of our world that you could start anywhere.
yeah, and yeah,
And that's all you gotta do. Just open a
yeah,
book,
and
watch video, watch a
yeah,
movie,
and like you mentioned,
anything.
yeah, like
The
you
rest
mentioned,
will follow. For me, it was I had to do a book report in the fourth grade on Alexander the Great. So I had to read the book.
yeah,
I
if
had
you
to
have
write
to
a
do
book
it,
report
if you have
about
to
it,
do it, yeah,
right? But it, from there, it grew.
so
And my dad was a history buff, so there was always books, and he was always watching movies. Um, so it was just kind of always around me.
yeah. So let's say that one of the first historical figures that has an influence on your path in history was Alexander the Great. So like literally the ancient times. But I think it's important also to, because in school we are always being taught, about these starting from Egypt, Greece, but there are many others culture and many others
Hmm.
before Sumerian, Babylonian, and even older, even other cultures, Sami, Inuit. We have some uh, Asian. We have so many cultures that are forgotten, not written in history book. That's why I say,
Yes.
go if you don't have it. Maybe inform on internet. Then if you like it, go buy a real book with real sources,
Real books. Yes,
real
I believe in real
sources.
books.
Always buy two because they're always, like biased. One maybe it's from one side, the one always look for two. That's one.
Yes, yes. Multiple sources for the
Yeah,
same thing.
exactly, because I can write. For example, if I like Alexander the Great and I wrote about him, I wrote highly. Maybe if I'm the enemy, I'm writing bad about him. So I have to read both to have an understanding. So
Hmm.
to have my own understanding. That's something that we have been taught in university of history, to read always two faces.
In our age of social media, things are often so lopsided because
Yeah,
people have only one source of information. And, here in the States, it's everything is so politically motivated. Information and disinformation
yeah,
are very irresponsibly manipulated. Um,
yeah.
yeah.
That's why we need always to listen to like two sides of every story. There are two sides of the coin. It's everything biased. There's just look two, listen, read two, always.
When I first became like a touring musician and we, go different places, I noticed that like if you're walking through the airport in say New York City, at JFK or LaGuardia or wherever, or maybe Dulles in Washington,
Yeah,
you're walking through the airport to get to your gate. You see the big TV screens that has the news on it. So in America, it might be CNN or Fox News or whatever. And you see something happen on the screen before you get on your plane. And then you fly across the Atlantic Ocean, and maybe you connect in London. So as you're walking through to your connecting flight, you're walking through the airport, you see the television screen, and now you see the BBC News.
and it's another story.
And same story, completely different presentation of
Exactly,
whatever it was that
exactly,
happened. And then
exactly.
maybe your plane lands again, your destination is in Munich or wherever. And now you see some other news channel with yet another
A third one. So we need
third viewpoint,
with a different,
same story,
indeed.
completely different way of interpreting and
Yeah.
presenting it to people.
Yeah, and that's why we need to have always like our own perspective, but informing, but being neutral, like being neutral and just getting it. But just coming back to all Nile actuality. So your source coming from you. I was just, what about the current, like, I know there is a tour coming up, like it's going to start in 2025, a new tour. So when it's going to start, maybe there is some festival already announced. So when we could see Nile live. So this, especially the new album being performed.
Well, we're touring the States in January and
Okay.
February. Then we're starting a lot of festivals this summer. Um, so a lot of chances. I don't know that we're playing in Sicily, but I'm pretty sure we'll be in Italy.
Yeah, that's for
Uh,
sure. But no, doesn't
yeah,
matter. Even in Germany, I reached out once in Germany in 2017, 18. There was
nice.
Alexi Cato with you, I think. And
Okay.
you,
You know Alexi?
yeah, you were feeling good the day, and he came to me and gave me pick of Nile, a guitar pick, a drumstick, because we were supposed to do an interview that day, but there was
Hmm.
the current setup, wasn't something not right, and it was so nice. You, all of you, were so nice that he came out. I was sitting on the grass. It's summer breeze. It was summer breeze, and he gave it to me. I said, "Thank you." Said, "Don't worry. Next time you will have the interview," and we did it in 2020. So, but still, we have to
Okay.
do the physical one. Yeah, I knew Alex.
Yes, let's
Yeah,
do it for real in person. It's more
yeah,
fun anyway.
yeah,
Yeah.
always, of course. So the people will have the chance, like you said, to see you live, like United States, and for sure also in Europe. And
Hmm.
of course, the album is already available. I think, of course, in physical copy, in all the type of format we have to nowadays. And they can reach out through the Napalm or also your website.
Yes, of course. You can even go to Amazon and get
Oh,
it if
okay.
you want. It's everywhere.
Or live shows. Of course, just what can I say, Carl? It's been an honor and pleasure finally have an interview with you, calm, without any people other talking, other third parties talking.
I know, and there's no band trying to sound check right
No,
now.
it's just simple and easy. And also I love that there was a little bit of history talk, that step aside a little bit from the music side, because it's interesting for people get to know also a different side of the band. Like there is more than a metal and more than heavy riff. Always we need them because we love them, but they're also an important soul, which is in this case history and actuality and knowledge. So thank you, was really an honor, and you made my day with this interview, and hope to see you really, no, let's meet this summer for sure in some European festival.
We will do it. Thank you so much for a wonderful talk today, Ada. It was
It
great.
was a pleasure. Have a beautiful day, and see you see you on the road. Not in a gas station though. See you on the
Okay,
bye.
ciao.